All right, welcome to the Rich Eisen Show basketball podcast. Brockman here with the guys, Adam and TJ. What's up, fellas?
It's cracking, man.
What's going on, Chris?
Yeah, man. All right, it's Wednesday, January 26th. So let's just start with this, guys. Somber start, but we got to do it. It's the second-year anniversary of the death of Kobe Bryant, his daughter, and 7 others in that terrible helicopter crash up in Calabasas. It's one of those days, we have them all throughout our lives, throughout history. You'll never forget where you were when you heard. TJ, let's start with you. You and I were in the same place.
We were in the same place. You know, we were in Miami. It was
Miami.
Getting ready for Super Bowl week. And, you know, Chris and I were at Yard House in Miami, and we were having dinner that night. And the Sixers were playing the Lakers.
Yeah, the night before on the 25th.
night before.
Yeah.
And, you know, our Kobe dominated our entire conversation because it was LeBron getting ready to pass Kobe for third place on the scoring list.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So Chris and I, the whole dinner, we're like, what do you think Kobe's feeling? You think he's there? You think he cares? And it was just like a whole lot of Kobe talk that night, man. And it was just like Philly, LeBron, Kobe. It was all basketball heavy that night. And then, you know, the next day is when it happened. And Chris has always said this, that was the last normal day on earth, it seems
the last
like.
normal day. Yeah.
Because after that, when Kobe passed and then everything else with COVID, it just like, and you're right, that does seem like it was the last normal day that we had.
Yeah, it was nuts. And Adam, I know you were back here in Los Angeles because TJ and I had flown. We were traveling with the main show for Super Bowl week. And we arrived kind of like in the late afternoon in Miami, checked into the hotel. We're on the East Coast now. Body clock is all kind of screwed up. Let's go walk around, get something to eat. And we were just watching the game, you know, watching LeBron do his thing, watching the Lakers do their thing. We were talking about the Sixers. You know, can this be a championship team? Ben Simmons and Embiid and your guys, TJ. And Kobe had this cool tweet. He congratulated LeBron. Yeah. It was awesome. And then we had tech rehearsal the next day. And we kind of went to tech rehearsal, and it was like, okay, we're here in Miami now. It's hot. It's humid. The set's going to be this. It's going to look like this. It's going to sound like this. And it was so cool. And we left.
We'll have to go pick up some credentials.
We left to go get our credentials for the week.
Yeah, there was like 12 of us.
We had a huge group.
Yeah.
We were walking. It was like a mile to the convention center where everything was set up. And Nick, who was a cameraman on the show, called me, and everything since that phone call has been completely different.
Yeah. I mean, Chris and I were like the last 2 people. Like I said, there was about 12 of us. Del Tufo was there, some other people, and me and Chris were in the back. And so Chris got the call. He's like, yo, what up? And then he just kind of stopped. He goes, what? What? Are you serious? What? And then like, my first thought was Chris's girlfriend was pregnant at the time, Sarah, with their son, Cage. So my thought immediately was like, oh, my God, something happened to the baby. Like, because I could tell by his tone that something happened and it wasn't good. Yeah. And I kind of got like, I was just like, it just kind of stiffened up like, oh, my God, dude, what happened? And then Chris hangs up the phone. He goes, hey. And everybody stopped. He goes, Kobe just died in an airplane wreck. And helicopter wreck. Kobe just died in a helicopter wreck. Yeah. And after that, like, I don't know. I remember seeing stuff and people talking, but it was just like,
everything was
what?
kind of a haze after there. Adam, like, what? How did you find out? What was going on in your head at that moment?
Yeah, so I was here in El Segundo at the rehearsal, the tech rehearsal.
Yeah.
And
because you were here monitoring the phones and everything.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah. So after the show, after the rehearsal, I'm driving back, and it's not good, but you know, I check Twitter sometimes when I drive.
Sure.
And I looked down.
Yeah, you're at a red light or something?
Yeah, exactly. I looked at a red light.
Yeah.
I was driving in La Cienega. I remember this specifically. And I looked down on Twitter, and I see Kobe Bryant feared dead in helicopter crash.
Oh.
And I was like, what?
Was it
like,
TMZ or was it a headline?
I think it was just like, I don't really remember, but it wasn't officially from TMZ.
Right.
And then I knew to look at TMZ because as much as people talk
they're always
trash
right.
about them, they're always right.
They're always right.
They're always right. So then in my head, I was so confused. I was like, wait, what? Like, this can't be real.
Yeah.
And so then I actually pulled over to the side of the road And I looked, and then I finally saw like officially like TMZ reported it. And I don't think I've ever been in so much shock in my entire life. Like, I just could not believe it. I was in a haze driving back to my place. And then I went to go pick up lunch, and there were these people like behind me that were laughing, and they probably didn't even know what was going on, you know, nothing. But I was just, in my head, I was like, why are you laughing right now? This is horrible. And then I went home, and listen, you know, I've only cried twice when celebrities have died. And one was Robin Williams, because he gave so much joy to other people, and yet he took his own life. And so that really upset me. And then I cried when Kobe died. And those are the only two I've actually really been affected from.
Yeah, I remember afterwards, I think haze is like the perfect word, because we're down in Miami. We do have actual work business to do that day, and we're getting our credentials, and we're trying to set up how the rest of the week is going to go. We had to go to the store. TJ and I went to the store because we had to pick up a few things, and you saw other people clearly didn't know. Whether they're sports fans or not, like Kobe Bryant is a huge figure, a huge public figure. Everyone knew him, knew of him, knew about him. And you're right. These people are laughing. Why are you laughing? Like, do you understand?
Yeah. Do you know what happened?
What just happened, and the effect and the ripples that this is going to have on the rest of your life? Like, it just felt that huge. And it really did, in my opinion, cast a huge cloud over the Super Bowl that week. And the Super Bowl week, if you've never been, it's like, how do you describe it, TJ? It's like
think about the best party that you've been to.
And it lasts for a week.
But break it up into 5 days and then amp it up by like 300%.
Like every single day, it gets more and more. It builds. And like the best parties aren't on Monday or Tuesday; they're on Friday and Saturday. You know, and you're just like the build up and the anticipation for the game. And there's a reason why it's the most watched television event every single year. Everyone, even if they're just not even football fans, just casual fans, like what Super Bowl party you going to? You going to Super Bowl party? We're doing this. What's your menu?
Even for commercials, people watch
commercials. Who do you like in the game? Like sometimes people are more interested in the halftime show, and it's Miami. Like, if you've never been to Miami, it's like Miami has that certain vibe too. And this happening the day before everyone's arriving and all these daily shows are starting to kick off. It really, maybe not for everyone else, but for me, it really took down the mood.
Yeah, for sure.
I would say that the only saving grace to the day when he died was seeing all the highlights and the motivational clips of him on social media, and just seeing how really of a special, not only player he was, but just a human being in terms of inspiring people and how intelligent he was. And so that did help me in terms of just being able to go down kind of a Kobe wormhole that day and go on YouTube and watch some of those clips. So that was great to be able to do, despite the fact that it was just an incredibly sad day.
A tremendous tragedy. And like, I'm not a Laker fan. Like,
no.
I wasn't a Kobe hater, I guess you could say, like, of him as a player, just because, he played against a team that I didn't like. I'm a Celtics fan, and the Lakers are, the number one rival. And so it's like, but
I would say, like,
I just found myself like being so sad, and just looking back and being like, kind of in a weird way, TJ, like, why did I waste all that time hating on Kobe Bryant when I could have just been loving and appreciating him as a person and as a player?
For me, like the entire time that I've been in LA, I got here in '99. So it was the Lakers three-peat started. Yeah. And it was, because I was a Sixers fan and I adopted the Clippers, I always didn't like the Lakers. So, all of my friends are Laker fans, and my boys will give you stories about, remember when Kobe had 60 this game, and they'll be able to tell you what my reaction was. Oh, that's the day TJ just up and stormed out of the bar, or that's the day TJ snuck out of the living room and went and hid in the backyard, or that's the day TJ like jumped in the air and his drink went everywhere. Like, they have a story about all my Kobe reactions, because I wasn't a Kobe fan because he played for the Lakers, like you said. Like if Kobe Bryant had played for the Sixers, my gosh, I would have been so, like, you would have hated me because I would have been the biggest Kobe stan on earth. So it was more about the laundry and not the person. But I remember I got to a point with Kobe the day that he tore his Achilles. I was watching with my roommate, Daniel Acuna at the time, and he's Lakers super fan to the max. And he goes, man, what do you think happened? And I knew right away. I'm like, bro, I think that's his Achilles. And he goes, but he's walking to the foul line. And I was like, I'm pretty sure he just tore his Achilles. And I told him, I'm like, look, when he comes back, and it wasn't like if he comes back, it was like, when he comes back, I'm telling you right now, I'm never booing this guy ever again. Yeah. And I held true to that. And one of the reasons also was because I love basketball so much. You guys always crap on me about having multiple teams, but I don't care because I just love basketball.
Yeah, of course.
I can remember one of the reasons that I became a LeBron fan, and mind you, this was later because I was already a LeBron fan, but at a point where people were turning on LeBron, I never did it because what you just said, Chris, is as big of a basketball fan as I was, I let my dislike of the Lakers take away from my enjoyment of one of the greatest to ever play basketball. It was right there. It was in my backyard. I could watch it anytime I wanted to. And I just sat there and looked at it like, oh, the Lakers, instead of being like, wow, this is great. So that's why it put me on a pace with LeBron where it's like, I'm never, even though LeBron's playing for the Lakers and it annoys me, I just enjoy the fact that I'm watching greatness. And, and I didn't do that all the time with Kobe, and that kind of bothers me.
And I think part of the huge tragedy of what happened was, in our lifetimes, you know, for you had Len Bias, but in terms of like a superstar athlete, nothing really has ever happened in our entire lifetime. I mean, I know
like this,
I had
not like this.
I had a college friend whose dad was a huge super fan of Roberto Clemente, and he died in a plane crash. But besides that, there's never really been any incident like this. So
well, there has been. There was Thurman Munson of the Yankees.
That's true. Thurman, but that was
79. He died in a helicopter crash, and that was as probably as big as this. But yeah,
nothing
it
in the last
happen.
nothing in the last 30, 40 years that's happened really like that.
And nothing in the 21st century for sure. And maybe you guys feel like this, where you have like kind of a regret of never seeing them play in person or whatever. So I've seen Kobe play in person, but I happened to be home over Christmas break in 2015 during Kobe's last year, and on December 30th that year, he was playing in Boston, and I was in town visiting a friend, and I was thinking about going to the game. I wasn't really sure. Tickets were a little expensive, and I ended up not going. And it was Kobe's final year. He retired at the year's over. It would have been his last game in Boston, and to this day, I regret not going.
I regret
basically every single day.
I regret not going to his final game because my friend Josh and I were really considering going to the game. And at the last second, we were just like, oh, tickets are too expensive. We could just watch at home. That would have been the most incredible game probably of my life to go to.
Yeah, probably.
Dropping 60 on his final game.
Yeah, you talk about
incredible.
The ticket stubs going crazy on like Golden and everything right now. And the ticket stub for Kobe's final game, April 13th, 2016, the 60-point game.
Ironically, if we saved the ticket stub, that would have paid for the ticket and then some. Right
Looking
now,
at
we sold it now. It's crazy to think about.
And it's funny, I went to not the last game Kobe had at home, but it was the last game he played against the Clippers. So I think it was one of his last 3 games, period. And I went with my buddy Jason. And
April 6th. So it was like a week before. It was the 5th game before the final one.
And so he, I'll always remember, he put on Twitter, he goes, this guy TJ is standing up every time Kobe makes a bucket and booing and clapping at the exact same time. And it was because I felt like this. I felt like the person Kobe was, he wouldn't want me to like all of a sudden cheer for him. Like, no, keep that energy. Keep booing. So that's what I did. But I also showed the respect of like, so yeah, everybody boo, boo, because it was like, you know, I had to show respect.
Of course.
But I think he would want that energy. Like, don't cheer me now just because, you know, like if that was your instinct, keep booing me. And so I felt like that was the right thing to do. And then, man, but yeah, it was awful, you know, and I'm a grown man, and I was never much of a crier. You know, I was talking to a guy about this the other day. Yeah. You know, when my nephew passed away in 2008, I think that kind of broke something inside of me. And at that point, it was like, I went from someone who never cried to someone who like Rich says all the time, if the right commercial comes on, if something happens, like, and I'll get teary. And I was, you know, what hotel were we in Miami?
The Delano.
The Delano. taking a shower one day. I just broke down in tears because getting back to the day it happened, Chris, I think you remember one of my first questions after it happened, and we kind of like put it all together. I was like, I turned to you, I went, oh my God, do you think his family was on that helicopter with him?
I know.
And that just like, all I kept thinking was like, oh my God, this 4 babies and his wife and then you didn't know who was on. Rick Fox, they said his name.
There was like Rick Fox. There was
All
so
this
many rumors of the
speculation.
people
Yeah.
who were on there.
Yeah, and I think, and that's when it hit me. I was like, man, like, and I felt bad for Vanessa, and specifically because, like I said, my nephew passed away. Yeah. I saw what that did to my sister. My sister will never truly recover. This woman woke up that morning and said goodbye to her husband and her baby.
Just like, I'll see you later.
Never came home.
Yeah,
and I think that was the moment that I broke down in the shower because I was thinking like, I can't even imagine what the pain, like I've seen it firsthand, but she not only lost the kid, she lost her husband. And like, so yeah, that was,
I mean, it's just like hyperbole to say I think about that every day, but I think
it's different for you now though, right?
I think about that every day now that I'm a father, and the things that I cry at now are so stupid, but like literally every day it happens.
Like there's a Ford commercial that was playing right around Christmas, and it was a girl and her dad.
Chevrolet.
Chevy.
It was a Chevy
her dad had her mom's
My God,
old car.
That commercial just tears.
Yeah,
just
right.
bawling.
So the mom had an old car. The mom had passed away, obviously. Her dad kept her car in the garage, and he'd go every like year to put flowers on and look at it. Right. So this girl did something. She worked with the town people. They restored her mom's car, and then she presented it to her dad. And I wanted to write Chevy a letter and go, I don't need this. All right. I don't need to sit in my living room. I'm a grown man and cry over a commercial, and yet
so
you're doing it. And so yeah, just everything now kind of gets me, and but I guess it's better. I would never.
It's better. I think like 20 years ago, I would have made fun of somebody like me for being like this now. But it's just like, I think it comes with aging, and I think it comes with living more life and seeing more experiences and having those, and just maturing and having more perspective, and
all that.
So you have to go through those different phases of your life, you know, where you're a big tough hardo, and you make and
then you realize you don't have to be,
and then you don't really have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And like I guess I'm glad for those phases of my life. Like,
well, it makes you who you are.
And, I'm thankful, and I'm thankful for you guys, and I'm thankful for all my friends and all my family. And I probably don't call them enough and tell them enough how much I care about them and how much I love them, because
you get caught up in daily life.
You just get caught up in life, and you don't think about it. And I think like there's daily reminders of how it can be taken away from you. Just look at who we've lost
recently.
Just recently, it comes to Bob Saget. Like, I was crying about that because, like, my son loves watching America's Funniest Home Videos. And then I think about me watching America's Funniest Home Videos growing up, and Bob was the host.
Yeah.
And so it's just,
I immediately thought of,
tell the ones you love that you love them.
Absolutely.
As often as you possibly can, because, it can all be gone. Like, Tom Brady just said it this week, talking about retirement. Like, we all think we're going to live forever. We're not.
Yeah.
And it could be over in an instant, and it's just like,
I think if there's any way to honor Kobe, it's to take every day and make the most of it, because I think oftentimes most people don't, including myself.
Yeah, totally.
You take it for granted, but like you said, no day is guaranteed. We could all die tomorrow,
and it's such a cliche to be like, live every day to the fullest, but like,
it's true.
Really do it, like,
or at least try to,
or just try, like. And if it's not every day, it's a maybe start slow. Start with one day a week where like, you're doing something for you, like you're breaking free from the routine and the rat race, so to speak, and just just do it, because
or even for like an hour, like try to be more present.
Yeah,
true that.
Put the phone down and be with
And also, Adam, let's talk about the impact that Kobe had, because once the news came, you started to see the tributes, and you started to see, we saw the video of the Lakers getting off the plane. Apparently they've been told on the plane, and you see them breaking down, they get off. You see all the players who paid homage, and if you didn't realize the effect that Kobe had, you did in the days and weeks and months after. He touched everybody in that league,
Oh yeah, and
the relationship he had with Michael Jordan, I think that was, you saw it at the memorial. for Kobe and everyone that, man, we really didn't know how close those two guys were.
Yeah, I think they were pretty private about it. You could clearly see from, when Kobe first entered the league that he emulated Michael.
Yeah.
And he looked up to him. And there's videos on YouTube where it shows, the comparisons of their moves and how similar they were. So it's obvious he looked up to him. And I think Michael mentioned that there were other players who wanted to be mentored by Michael. But the problem is that Michael didn't believe that they could ever live up to the greatness of him. And they didn't have the work ethic of Michael. And so Michael, I think, saw with Kobe the one guy that was younger than him that he thought had the same work ethic as him.
Yeah.
True.
And so he said, if there's any heir apparent, it's this guy.
Also, Adam, I think that Kobe didn't give Mike a chance to not allow him. Like, Kobe was like, I'm to be your guy. We're going to be cool, regardless of whether you want to or not. And I feel like Mike was probably just like, all right, fine. Like, cool.
I thought, like, if you go back and rewatch, like, Mike's speech from the memorial, it's amazing.
It's like he said how much he annoyed him.
He
like,
does tell that story about this guy, middle of the night, 1 a.m. I'm trying to sleep. Why are you texting me about like how to perfect my fadeaway jumper? Like, bro, I'm sleeping. And I think that was just so cool, and it just talks about the Mamba mentality now that has kind of become a thing, which is so neat. Like, relentless, never give up, never settle for anything less than your absolute best, 24/7. 365, and like it's just
Mamba mentality.
It's just something that like everyone can take. You don't have to be a professional athlete to live the Mamba mentality.
Yeah, you can apply it to anything.
And I think that's kind of the coolest thing about what Kobe's legacy is going to be.
I didn't personally like have a time where I hung out with Kobe, surprisingly, or anything. But
I know. Wow, she's spoiled.
But there was one time I was sitting courtside at a Lakers game, right? I was sitting court, and if you remember Lakers games in the early 2000s, there was always a guy. He was a doctor. He sat next to the Lakers bench, a few seats down. Always had a program wrapped up. So I was in his hand, pounding on it, and so I sat next to him once, and I remember, because I'm going to be defiant a little bit, I wore a Clippers warm-up jacket. Whole first half. So second half
Were they playing the Clippers?
No, they weren't playing the Clippers.
No,
they weren't playing the Clippers. But you know me, like I'm gonna rep the Clippers, like at a Laker game. You know why? Because every Laker game I would go to, every Clipper game I go to, there'd be 1,000 people in Lakers jerseys. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this. So halftime's over. They're walking back out. Kobe's walking, and he's 3 feet from me, and he stops and he looks at my shirt. He looks down. He looks at me. He looks at the shirt, he looks at me and kind of shakes his head, and he goes to the doctor guy, because maybe he thought we were together. He goes, what's up with your boy right here? I think he lost his mind. And I sat there like, what's up, Kobe? What's up? And he just like laughed and walked down the court to like start warming up for the second half. So that was like my only like time I really had an interaction with Kobe. But the fact that he just sat there and just looked at me like, what's up with this dude? Is he crazy or something? So that was, that's my Kobe story.
Speaking of courtside with Kobe, have you guys ever seen the video where Chris Rock is trying to make Kobe laugh?
Yes.
And Kobe's just sitting there just like.
If you haven't seen it, please go.
Should I watch it right now while you guys
watch
talk?
It's quick enough.
It just shows the true focus, how locked in Kobe could get.
Because wasn't Spade with him, Adam?
Spade was with him. Chris Rock is trying to clearly make Kobe laugh. Chris Rock, one of the funniest people
on earth.
And then
the camera pans,
and Kobe's just sitting there, just dead face, just like, mouth open, just
like there's no one sitting next. And and Chris Rock's doing all this with his hands, like he's trying to tell him a story,
doing the Chris Rock stuff.
And Kobe's just like the camera pans over, and Kobe's just like looking at
just in his own world.
All right, hold on.
So watch
I found it on YouTube. I have
It's
an
really
ad.
quick.
I got to get through an ad here. Here we go.
Just imagine not breaking at Chris Rock, Adam. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Oh yeah, Spade's wearing like a jean jacket in this. Like, what is happening? So they're playing the Celtics. It's NBA Finals Game 1.
Oh, is that I can't remember. I just remember.
Yeah,
that.
so they're tight zoomed on Chris Rock, and they pull out, and Kobe's just like this.
Yeah, you don't talk to Kobe during the NBA Finals. Come on, Chris.
Game 1. Oh, they're beating us. Yeah, they're blowing us out.
What did you guys think about when Kobe first came into the league? Did you guys? Were you guys
I will
fans
say,
of him, or what was your guys' initial?
Here's what I will say.
Chris, before he came to the league,
yeah, go ahead.
I saw him in '96 in Pittsburgh at the I want to say the McDonald's All-American game. So of course, he was from Philly, so I always heard the hype about this kid. Found out that his dad played for this, which is another weird reason. Like his dad played for the Sixers,
Right?
So he should have been someone I love, but it was just the Laker thing that just kind of
it's totally the Laker thing. Totally
but getting to watch him, Mike Bibby, I believe. Steven Jackson was there. I mean, I got to go back and look at the class of '96, but I can just remember like watching this kid and like he's going pro. Okay, that's interesting, and I never would have suspected what happened.
And remember, he went to prom with Brandy. That
was
a
prom
big
with
deal.
Brandy.
That was a big deal. Everybody was like, "Oh my god, this kid's."
And
doing
he had
it.
those cool Oakley glasses. Remember those? There's no way to verify this, so you're just gonna have to take me at my word.
I'll take you at your word.
There's 1996. I was a sophomore in high school. In European, we had this modern European history was the class, right? And we had these crappy old ass textbooks. You know the one? Remember the old textbooks growing up where it would have the name in the front, and you would be like, "Oh man, in 1984."
Oh yeah, you'd have to write your name in the front of the book.
You'd write your name in the book, and you could
sure.
go back and you could see like who had your book and everything.
My Uncle
right?
Ned had this book in '76.
So in my European history textbook, I remember hearing about this kid, seeing him play. I watched the McDonald's game. I was so into basketball growing up. I wrote on one of the pages, "Kobe Bryant will be one of the greatest players of all time."
Wow.
I swear to God, I swear on my son's life, I said this. I wrote it in a page in one of the books.
That's amazing because originally, like his rookie year, he showed glimpses of greatness, but it just wasn't there right away. It was
remember
very
the playoffs?
inconsistent.
He had a bunch of air balls to end the game against Utah.
I can remember I was still in Pittsburgh for that Utah
I just
series.
thought he was going to be great. You could just see he was like a Michael Jordan clone. It was unbelievable.
Here's what I knew, though. That playoff series, right? He's, 18 years old, 19 years old?
Yeah, 18.
Shoots 3 air balls at the end of the game.
Yeah.
That's when I knew. I was like, this kid, DGAF.
Yep. He will not be denied,
He
man.
threw an air. Like, for me personally, if I shoot an air ball
I'll
in the
never
game,
shoot again.
Here's what you can. If you're guarding me, know that you're going to have an easy night because I'm not shooting again. Like, I'm so embarrassed by shooting air ball. This dude in the biggest stage on earth at 18, 19 years old, air ball, okay, cool, I'm going to do it again. What, air ball? All right, give me the ball back. Come on. And at that point, I went, this dude is going to be a problem because he don't care.
Yeah, to become that great, you need to have that level of confidence, even at that young of an age.
Absolutely.
And I think Kobe's real coming out party was that 1998 All-Star game. Do you guys remember New York?
Well, was that the freeze him out game, or was that was the year after? Remember his first All-Star? They like kind of froze him out a little bit.
No, but he had some crazy dunks. It was in Madison Square Garden. It was Jordan's last All-Star game.
He also did the dunk contest too.
That was in Cleveland, I
Growing
think.
up.
Yeah.
Okay, that was the year before.
That was his rookie year, I believe. He was in the dunk contest. But I think his real coming out party was that 97-98 season, his second year in the league. And during that All-Star game, that's like if you guys remember in The Last Dance when Michael was kind of talking trash about him in the locker room. But Kobe,
he called him a little Laker boy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You're right. You're right.
But
And that's how you could tell Mike started to like him at that point.
Yeah.
He's like, this kid.
Yeah, but I think Kobe really showed. He kind of broke out on the national stage in that game, and I think people after that game were like, "Oh my God, like this kid's going to be special."
Man, and he had that like the charisma. He sounded like Mike when he talked. Like it was great. Man.
The Adidas, remember the Adidas Kobe is back in the day. Everybody talks about Nike of Kobe. You got to remember the OG Adidas Kobe shoes. Remember those? They looked like kind of like they're like space shoes.
Yeah, Kobe didn't have. I thought those
cool
were kind of
shoes.
ugly.
He didn't have cool shoes in the beginning. They looked big and clunky.
Yeah,
and
they
like,
looked like they weighed like 5 pounds a piece. Those shoes, the Adidas spaceship shoes.
Yeah.
All right, we're doing the whole show about Kobe, and we're gonna wrap up here in a minute. But I'm gonna leave you guys with something to think about here. We all know that Wilt has the record for points in a game, 100, right?
Mm-hmm.
But is we say like, yeah, Barry Bonds has the most home runs in it, but the real record is Babe Ruth. You know what I mean? Like, is the real record Kobe's 81?
No, I mean the real record's 100.
But I know, but is the real record 81?
I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
I mean, no one. Here's the deal, though.
Like Barry Bonds hit 70, but we all know that Roger Maris kind of has the real record at 61. Like, yeah, Wilt had 100, but There's no video of it.
Yeah, but here's the deal.
He was the biggest guy playing against like dudes who worked at the post office and stuff, and like. So Kobe's 81 is the real record?
I can see where you're going, but let's not like put some respect on Wilt's name, as we saw once we got the colorized footage and it made all.
Oh, I would never. I'm obviously not
set was incredible.
Yeah. Obviously not disrespecting Wilt, or just the era in which he played.
For me, I don't know if it's a question of if it's the real record. It's what are you more impressed by? And for me, the 81-point game in modern NBA games is way more impressive. The 81 points by Kobe is, to me, it's way harder to do now than when Wilt was playing, when he was, like you said, way more athletic and head and shoulders above the rest of the competition. I think Kobe's 81, I don't know if any player will ever score close to that again.
Well, if that's the case, then why didn't no one else ever score 100 back then? I mean, that's an impressive feat.
Well, no, obviously Wilt
was
was an athletic freak. I mean, I think we can all agree.
So I don't think we can.
Like, I don't know. How about this? Maybe a better question is this.
But I get what you're saying, though. I do understand what you're saying.
Yeah, maybe a better question is this then. Who playing right now has the best chance to get 81 in the game?
Steph.
Agreed. I think Steph.
Just because of the threes?
Yeah, just because he can at any moment just go crazy and just hit a bunch of threes in a row. I think if he really tried to get that record, I think he could probably be the most likely person to get it.
I mean, Clay was the one that really had the best shot and didn't play in the fourth quarter of his 60-point game.
True that. And also, like Embiid the other night, he scored 50 points and there was 6.5 minutes left in the game. It's like, I don't know. And he scored 50 in 27 minutes. So I'm like, is it ridiculous to think he could have put up like another 17 or so? It wouldn't have been 81. He could have gotten closer.
I mean, David Robinson got 71 right back in the day. But
I guess if KD went off one day, he could potentially get up there.
Adam, you're right. It's got to be a shooter. It's got to be a guy who can. One, you got to be able to shoot foul shots, because at that point you're going to start getting hacked. You're going to go to the line a lot, so you're going to have to hit your foul shots, but you also got to be able to shoot threes. So, Devin Booker. That's
Devin
right.
Booker had 70. That's not a bad one. That's not a bad one. He's definitely got that potential. It would be fun. Like, what's a bummer is that a lot of these big scoring games, as we saw with Klay Thompson, they're in blowouts, and so they don't really play in the fourth quarter or down the stretch. So the coach doesn't really let them really go for it, so to speak. But
didn't Kobe have 60 in three quarters once as well?
Yeah, against Dallas. Against Dallas.
I was doing some research about Kobe before the podcast, and Kobe had a stretch in 2003 where he scored 40 points. 9 straight games.
Yeah, I remember
Just
that.
think about that.
It was
9
ridiculous.
Straight games, he scored 40 points.
Well, James
That's
Harden kind of did
incredible.
something similar too recently.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible. It's possible.
I think Harden had way more volume of shots, though.
His PR
I
was
don't
way
know
higher.
that for a fact.
Let me ask you guys this question.
It's really fun to think about this stuff.
Who would you say is the best modern scorer since MJ? Is it Kobe or is it Durant? That's tough.
Oh man.
I mean, I think Kevin Durant is just so efficient to like.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. Yeah, the one thing I loved about Kobe is like it just goes back to his first playoffs. Like a missed shot, a bad shot, an air ball, a brick, a block. That wasn't gonna stop him from the next shots going up. Like he's just like like Ted Lasso, like the memory of a goldfish. The guy like did not nothing fazed him. Like nothing negative phased him.
On that court, yeah.
And even in Game 7,
he was still going to do his
against
thing.
the Celtics.
He was still going to get his shot. He was terrible in that game.
Remember, he was like 7. I think he was like 7 for 22 or something.
It was
like
like
that.
6
really
for 24.
Bad.
He was terrible.
But you know what he did?
Still found a way to win.
7.
He passed Ron the ball.
Mm-hmm.
He made the basketball play. And he never passes Ron the ball, according to Ron. But he made the right play.
He passed me the ball. Kobe passed me the ball.
And Ron inexplicably made the shot. All right, guys, let's just end it right there.
Hey, Chris, before we go, though, since we're talking about Kobe, and this has always kind of meant something to me because of just some of my friends. Like, I'd travel with some of my friends who were like, whatever, celebrities or famous. And it was always like the joke. Not even the joke, but like, man, if something happened now, it would be like you plus friends. And I was like, that never sat well with me. So just me personally, since we're going to talk about Kobe, I like to say these people's names before we go off air.
Of course, do it.
Kobe Bryant, Gianna Bryant, John Altobelli, Carrie Altobelli, Alyssa Altobelli, Christina Maurer, Sarah Chester, Peyton Chester, and or Zobion, the helicopter pilot. Just want to
thank you for that.
tell those people to rest in peace and send love to their families and friends as well.
Amen to that. Thanks for listening and watching, everybody, and we'll see you guys next week.
Long live Kobe Bryant.